Kong needs to use a stone tomahawk to defeat Godzilla. Welcome to I Like to Movie. My name is Garrett Smith.
My name is Dan Scully, and I would like to point out that in writing my review of Kong vs. Godzilla, I was trying to find a picture of the axe, and all of the pre-movie release photos have it digitally replaced with a giant bone.
Oh, wow.
Yep. It was hidden because I guess they didn't want to have that as a reveal.
That's very interesting because I do think by the time you get to the trailer, I think explicitly he's got a big radioactive axe that...
he might.
Right? Yeah.
I just, in all of the photos I could find, it was very distinctly a bone. And I was like, oh, this is like the scary movie trailers where the guy was smoking a joint, but they made it a digital nacho.
Right.
And it was like, I can understand them not wanting to do that as a reveal, at least until release date,
Well, I'm very curious. By the way, I guess we're definitely going to talk about Godzilla versus Kong on this episode.
Yes, welcome to I Like to Movie, ladies and germs.
You can expect us to spoil the movie that is currently on HBO Max, so probably you can watch it. And
honestly, what is there? I mean, there's one aspect of it that I think could be a spoiler, but considering 2 weeks before Wingard released the movie, he posed with an action figure of that thing. It's okay, but yes, we will be spoiling.
Yes, consider that a spoiler. I actually think there's multiple things that are pretty big spoilers for the movie that people should want to preserve for themselves. So see the movie, see the movie, and then listen to us. We're probably going to spoil it. We're also going to talk about a couple other things that you and I have kind of been, if you've been following the show, especially here on YouTube, as Dan and I catch up on our watch lists. We've kind of started trading recommendations as we go, and so we're gonna catch up on some of that stuff too.
But last week, two of the movies that you recommended as part of your list of things that you never would have watched had they not been recommended to you were things that I never would have watched. One that I had never even heard of, and since Miami Blues was leaving Prime in 3 days, I pulled the trigger and I found Tears of the Black Tiger on the Roku channel. So
yes. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we actually start there? I don't want to walk us too far away from whatever point I interrupted to be like, hey, we're talking about Godzilla versus Kong and probably spoiling it. But why don't we start with some of those? I'm curious to hear your thoughts about those movies.
Well, I loved Miami Blues. That movie was bonkers.
Isn't it
truly bonkers. It's so indescribable. It does make sense that it's based on a book. It feels very much like a pulp novel. Yeah. It's weird because I can't say that Alec Baldwin's particularly good in it, if that makes sense. But he's perfect for it.
He's amazing. I don't think I've ever seen him with that energy in anything before.
That felt like an unhinged Gosling performance. He kept triggering Ryan Gosling doing a nice guy's drunken, coked up thing.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Because it's partially because when I think of Alec Baldwin now, I think of his 30 Rock character, who's literally supposed to be a fucking a rock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just never.
I just think of The Shadow.
Right.
Just kidding. I don't ever think of The Shadow.
No one thinks of The Shadow.
If I can help myself, I try never to think of The Shadow.
I think that might even be the premise of The Shadow.
It literally is. He has to lurk in the shadows because who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men. The Shadow knows.
But I've never seen him with this. That was the thing that blew me away about the movie most, was just I've never seen Alec Baldwin do whatever it is he's doing in this movie, which I agree with you is kind of indescribable. What I said to you is he's like a live wire in it.
Yeah.
That's
I was waiting for that spot that you talked about where the doorbell rings. He's just what the fuck was that?
Yeah,
never heard of the door before.
Yeah,
I was laughing so hard. But my favorite line is when the guy tries to rob the open air restaurant.
Yes.
So he shoots him in the leg because he's pretending to be a cop at this point, and everyone's freaking out, and he's on edge. And then the waitress lady looks at him and he goes, "Don't worry, lady, I'm gonna call an ambulance on my radio. In my police car," and then he runs away. It was so weird, but he was making it up as he went. What's gonna put these people at ease? Oh, that I'm a cop. How do I recognize that I'm a cop? By indicating that my car is a police car.
Yeah,
it's fucking. The only comparison point I have is his one scene in Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yes,
but even that's different because that character is a guy who's his sliminess is calculated.
Yes,
whereas the character is in this is his sliminess comes from the fact that he's legitimately fucking insane and he gets off on being unhinged. It's the weirdest performance, but I've never seen anything like it. And that whole movie was nonstop entertainment. Just every character actor going to 11. I mean, Fred Ward of Tremors fame and Remo Williams. He was hilarious. Why does he have fake teeth and no teeth? Because if he didn't, it wouldn't be as fucking weird. Like, it's just nonstop. Oh, I loved that movie. Like, dude, loved.
I'm so glad you liked it. That movie is like, I heard the guys on Screen Drafts talk about it, and I was like, that sounds like something I would like. You know, it's because I guess you could say it's like a little bit of neo-noir. That might be like the loosest kind of like genre description of it.
I would quite literally call it Miami Beach noir.
Right, yeah. But like, it's just wild. It's so weird. It's really funny, but also in a way that, like, I don't know how to say this, but the movie actually feels dangerous the whole time. Like, he just made me feel like everyone that was in close proximity to him was in danger at all times. Mm-hmm. And that was like but I found him funny. Like, he was really funny and entertaining to watch be a fucking legitimate psychopath for 90 minutes. You know?
Yeah. And I loved the interplay between him and Jennifer Jason Leigh, I love her. She's full stop one of my favorites. But what I love about that is everybody has a friend who you're glad they're your friend, because if they weren't, they'd be the most dangerous person you know. Right. But you feel safe around them because they're your psycho.
Yeah.
You know, and to use that to spawn a romance is really interesting. And especially in like her character, I don't want to outright call her dumb, because like she's in school, she's clearly educated. Yeah. She's just kind of like emotionally unbalanced in some way. Yeah. But like, I totally got why she was blind to his lies and his insanity. Yes. I don't even want to say blind, but just like in a state of denial about it. Yeah. And I think that was fueled by the idea of like, well, it doesn't matter because around him, at least I'm safe.
Yes, right. Yeah.
You know, like, and if I can feed him enough delicious pies, which I'm proud to do, and he's happy to eat them, then I think we're good. And like, I totally get that impulse. And to make that the central romance was so interesting. And once again, feels like something out of a book, which it was.
Totally agree. Yeah, it's got like kind of like, I don't know, because I've never read this author, but I've seen a lot of movies based on his stuff, like an Elmore Leonard kind of vibe, right? Like a little bit that kind of thing going on, I think.
I think the way that the characters, like, just, I don't want to call them archetypes because they're all unique here, but like the way the cops are in this. What's his name? Fred Ward's character, which Hoke Mosley, Sergeant Hoke Mosley. But like, even he runs into the Miami cop who thinks he's undercutting his drug take.
Yeah, right.
I forget who that guy was.
I can remember.
Find him. But like, his partner's that guy Charles Napier, another great like super character actor, famous for having his face eaten off by Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs.
Right.
What was that guy's name? And fucking Nora Dunn rolling through.
Oh, dude,
and
yes.
First off, a total fucking smoke show, by the way. I was in love with her in this movie, but like, she's just the best.
Yep.
Man, I can't find that. Paul Gleason. He played Frank Lackley. Paul Gleason was the guy. He's Breakfast Club.
Yeah, he's Breakfast Club. Yes.
Yeah, he's Breakfast Club. And he's, you know, like, you wanna make it 3 weeks, punk. You know, he's that guy.
Die Hard as well, right?
Yes, he is Die Hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's in one scene, and he just fucks up Fred Ward for, you know, and so it feels very much like a Get Shorty, where it's just a bunch of actually, you know what it reminded me of? What? And this isn't necessarily the greatest movie, but did you ever see Big Trouble?
Oh, you know, I'm pretty sure I saw Big Trouble on the big screen.
I did too.
Big Trouble
had that kind of vibe.
Yeah, it does. I know exactly what you mean. I think I'm thinking of the right movie, right? Tim Allen is in this movie. Jason Leigh is in this movie. Johnny Knoxville is in this movie.
Johnny Knoxville. Yeah. It has the first instance, at least in my experience, of Dennis Farina doing the Miami, huh? You can keep it. It's got that thing in it.
Dude, this is a movie that lives very large in my memory. I feel like it might. I have no idea if it would hold up watching it now, but I remember thinking it was one of the. I think at the time that I saw it, because I must have been 13 when this movie
came
out.
I was in early high school when it came out, I think.
I think I was pretty young when this movie came out. I remember it feeling like a dangerous subversive comedy to me.
Yeah.
Which I know 100% it would not be watching it now,
I think it was just Dave Barry trying to do an Elmore Leonard, because it is based on a Dave Barry book. And he's funny, but he's like, I don't want to say populist funny, because I think Dave Barry's actually pretty genius.
Sure.
But yeah, it's like, I mean, he's got a Pulitzer. But yeah, it's Dave Barry trying to do a riff on like a Get Shorty or a Miami Blues. But yeah, that was just, I loved Miami Blues so much, and I'm mad that it's off of Prime now, because I would totally watch it again. Like, it just goes down easy.
Dude, it was so watchable. I was so excited. But by the way, this is a movie that I don't even know how long it was actually on Prime, because I remember the first time I heard about it was not that long ago, and I looked it up and was like, oh, shoot, you can't really see this movie. And then I looked it up again, somewhat recently, and was like, oh, cool, it's like available. I can watch it. And, now I'm hearing from you that it's like already no longer available.
It's gone. Yeah, I watched it last Saturday, and that was it.
Yeah. Dude, so much fun. People should definitely seek this out. I don't know. I mean, I hope there's a release of this somewhere that you may be able to purchase for yourself if you wanted to. But this is
one
what
of these
I would buy.
Boutique Blu-ray places dropped this, I would buy it in a second. I wouldn't even think twice.
This is what I would buy for sure. Boy, I'm glad that you like this as much as you did.
I loved it. And it's just like, what's weird is like, I'm watching it, I'm going like, I'm pretty confident that the real Alec Baldwin is actually like a legit insane person. I know that anybody who's ever met him either loves him or hates him, because he's either the greatest dude in the world or the biggest piece of shit they ever ran into. Right. And so I was just watching it. I was like, this is just what I understand Alec Baldwin, what my headcanon of Alec Baldwin needs to be in order to enjoy him is what he's playing in this movie. And so big fan. It was awesome.
It is probably unfair to Alec Baldwin, but I definitely spent most of this movie going like, oh, so this is what happens when they can't rein him in.
Yeah. Yeah, when they can't rein him in, he leaves horrible voicemails where he calls his daughter the C word. Yes, but, like, you get Miami Blues, what are you going to do? Right. Although, I will say that she roasted him on a Comedy Central roast, and it was absolutely brutal. Like, you could tell it hurt him, and apparently, ever since then, they've been real close. So I guess she just had to learn how to speak his language,
Well, yeah. This, by the way, this was directed by George Armitage.
Armitage.
And he directed Grosse Pointe Blank.
Oh, that's of a piece.
Right. It's like, it's the one thing that I guess it's like, once I see that, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess if I had to compare it to another thing, I might tell you it's like Grosse Pointe Blank.
I got to rewatch that. I liked Grosse Pointe Blank when I saw it. He did The Late Shift. Okay. The Late Shift is, I believe it was like an HBO original. I forget. But it's like a dramatic telling of the Letterman-Leno rivalry.
Oh, okay.
But John Michael Higgins plays Letterman, and it's like very inspired casting.
Interesting. Yeah, it looks like he like wrote the teleplay for that.
Yeah, because it's based on a book. I watched that movie back in the day when I was like a hardcore Letterman fan. And I remember enjoying it the way that you enjoy like the Al Pacino Dr. Death movie, what's his name, Kevorkian, or Swing Vote with the dearly departed Kevin Spacey in it. And we could just treat him as dead, because I mean, functionally, it's fine by me.
I mean, at this point, it sounds like eventually we'll just go back and like remake the movies he was in, like literally not remake the movies, but like just remake his parts with other actors. You know what I'm saying?
We can't. We're just going to replace him. But I mean, hey, we have the technology. We can make him stronger, faster than he was before, and with less of an inclination to do dirty things to little boys. So it is the world we live in.
I am getting the other movie we want to talk about up on my screen here, because I want to make sure I get details about it right.
Oh, Tears of the Black Tiger?
Yes.
Now, I am concerned because the version on the Roku channel was only 80 minutes. And when I looked it up, there's a nearly 2-hour version. There's an hour and 40-minute version. And then the American release was an hour and 20 minutes. And so I feel like I probably saw a diet version. At the same time, it was sort of the perfect length for what it was. I loved it, but I don't know how much more time I could have spent with it before it lost me, if that makes sense.
I will be honest, I have no idea what version I saw now that you're saying that. I don't even know.
The plot felt complete enough. I followed what was going on. I cared at who I was supposed to care about. But really, I was there for the style and for the fun, and it delivered in droves. He shot that motherfucker in the teeth.
Dude.
Fucking exploded out his mouth. She was awesome.
That's what was so crazy about this movie to me was that, like, on one hand, it's like this soap opera. It's like this very melodramatic, occasionally romantic, very soap opera feeling movie that is clearly like trying to build these like very beautiful artistic frames. And on the other hand, it is the most Tarantino-y, hyper-violent, wild action ballet I've seen in a while. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I thought the leading lady was awesome. Like when it came to the melodrama parts,
yes,
she really brought that home, especially since the Black Tiger was a completely emotionless vacuum of any sort of expression.
Yep.
And so she was great. But then a guy also caught a bazooka to the chest and exploded gruesomely against the wall. Dude. Fucking incredible.
That like what is it? It's like an assault on like a mansion or whatever towards the end, right?
It was
like
assault on a wedding.
Yeah. Oh my God. So fucking cool. I just thought this movie was like, so here's the thing. I read this and I'll read it to you now. This description on Letterboxd, I read like before I watched it. And I think it just kind of like gave me, I don't know, like an in on this movie. So, okay, here's the description. An homage and parody of 1950s and 60s Thai romantic melodramas and action films.
Sounds about right.
I felt like just knowing that one sentence going into it kind of helped me calibrate like what I was even seeing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if I had stumbled across it, I would have been like, this is enjoyable, but I'm not sure I'm there. But because you had recommended it, it gave me proper context to like be able to like take it in the right way.
Yeah, I mean,
because it is kind of a mixed tonal bag overall, but I think it manages it well enough, knowing that it is supposed to, that it's winking at me a little.
Yeah, thinking about it again, I've not seen the things that it's parodying or homaging, but just knowing that it's like it feels like a pastiche because it's a pastiche.
Yeah,
kind of helps me a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think there are things that influenced it. Like even at the beginning when they have that duel where he shoots the snake out of the tree.
Yes.
They purposefully do the eye shots and things like that, and it's supposed to evoke a spaghetti western.
Yes.
So I think that's there, especially that opening scene where he ricochets a bullet. Yes. And then the title card's like, hey, did you miss that? Let's check that out one more time.
Yeah.
I mean, that I've seen, not specifically that, but I mean, is there a movie that doesn't feel inspired by that moment? You know,
well, I mean, even just, I think of Police Story when I think of that. Jackie Chan jumping down the light fixture in the mall where they just show it to you 3 times because it's so fucking cool to watch.
That was, sorry, Jenna texted me. Because they used to do that in the old kung fu movies. Like they even brought that back, like in Ong Bak, where there's a killer stunt, and so they shoot it from 4 different angles, and then they just have to show you all of them. Like in Ong Bak, he's running and he does like a running split under a moving truck, and they show that 10 different ways. And it's like just because they're proud of the stunt, and Police Story does that. And see, I like that here. It's just like wait. I want to tell you how proud I am of this moment. Let's show you that again. Like they actually call it out. Yeah.
It's pretty fun. Yeah. And I just like, this was one of those movies that I'm with you. It's like, this is probably a style over substance movie.
Yeah.
At least for me. But it was one of those things where style becomes substance. The style is
agreed.
So just delicious and entertaining. Like I loved the just poppy colors, the hand-painted backdrops.
That was the coolest thing, yeah.
I just loved it. I think it's great. And it's all like pastel colors, which I think is like a really cool, kind of unique like design, especially for an action movie. You know, it's like...
I've seen 100 movies that look like it, and I've seen no movies that look like it.
Yeah, right, yes.
You know, like I've seen 100 different movies where it's like, oh, they had this in their head. Yeah. But I've never seen anything have this sort of color scheme.
Yeah.
And like I've seen some Thai cinema, and like at the beginning when they have the fight with the paddles and stuff, and it's just like kind of farmy looking and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, I that reminds me of a lot of like different Thai and Malaysian cinema that I've seen.
Yeah.
But then when it gets heightened and like you said, the painted backdrops, or where they will quite literally just have like a sun on a blanket in the background and they're shining a spotlight through it.
Yes.
It looks so cool, and at no point do I feel like that's not real within the movie.
Right.
It's really remarkable how it's done.
It was great. I just thought this was like one of those very unique finds. You know what I mean? Where I was just like, man, if somebody hadn't told me to watch this, I never would have watched it.
I never would have heard of it. I really had never heard of this before.
Yeah, and I just, man, I love this movie. I hope like more people discover this movie and try and get their hands on this movie.
Well, if you get the Roku channel app, like I don't have a Roku, but they have a streaming app. It's on there.
Awesome.
You have to sit through a commercial break or two, but like increasingly, those commercial break streaming services have better libraries than the actual services. Like Tubi TV has the best horror lineup of anything this side of Shudder.
I watch Tubi and Pluto quite a bit because they good stuff cycles through those places.
I hate that you can't pick a movie in Pluto.
So
I figured a way around it. If you look it up in Just Watch, then you can click through to it. That's how I got to it was the China Syndrome, which
I need to see this. Yeah. Yeah.
I did the double feature of China Syndrome and the Parallax View a couple weeks back.
Are they sequels or these are just both 70s paranoid thrillers?
70s paranoid thrillers. China Syndrome, I think, came out in 81. So it's like, but it's of that era. China Syndrome is a stone cold masterpiece.
Cool.
It is. Jack Lemmon as a nervous wreck.
Love it.
Jane Fonda as the female wow. My brain is mush, man. Female reporter trying to buck the fact that she's essentially got the Veronica Corningstone arc where it's like, this newsroom is sexist as fuck. I'm tired of fluff reporting. But then she her and Michael Douglas stumble across a huge, dangerous nuclear conspiracy, and she busts it wide open. Maroon and Wilford Brimley, it is awesome. Fucking awesome. And I think it's on Pluto.
All right, I would like that.
Highly recommend. It might even be on Criterion. I forget. One of those two was on Pluto, and one of them was on Criterion. But I would recommend both. And Parallax View wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
But same director as All the President's Men.
Yeah, right.
What's his name? Pakula.
I'm not gonna be able to think of it. Is that right? That might be right.
Yeah, it's something Pakula. George Pakula. They're all Georges.
You are Alan Pakula.
Alan Pakula, that's it.
Yep.
And and Warren Beatty. It's legit. Real good shit. Cool. Yeah, if you're looking for, I love me a paranoid 70s thriller.
Yeah, me too.
And so as far as they go, even the one's 1981, those are two of the best.
I would like to see both of those.
And it's weird watching a movie where you're like, shit, I'm older than Michael Douglas here. It's the weirdest thing.
The only other thing I wanted to drop about Tears of the Black Tiger really quick was one, just to say the director's name, because I like to do that, although I'm going to have trouble with that. I this is a language I'm not that familiar with. Wisit here we go. Sasanatiang? Sasanatiang? Wisit Sasanatiang. I think that's as close as I can get.
Yeah, that seems right. I mean, if we do it phonetically, that seems right.
Just wanted to make sure I at least tried to get that information out to people. And also the literally only tonal thing that I can compare this to, and I hope this will make sense to you, is it feels like a Fast and Furious movie to me. The blending of melodrama with like crazy action, the closest thing I could think of tonally is like a Fast and Furious movie.
And
I don't know that if you watch this movie, you would necessarily be like, yes, that feels like a Fast and Furious movie, but because it's not, it's not the same kind of action. It's not the same kind of tropes, but
I think we would be in agreement that the Fast movies tend to be most on brand and enjoyable after the point where they sort of got that they were parodying what they once were.
Yeah, we're talking 5, 6, 7.
It has that
5, 6, 7 era.
That
Fast
5, 6, 7 arc is untouchable.
Yeah.
And it's because they kind of understand that in order to deliver on this, they have to have some detachment. And I think this has that. I would agree. I would never have thought that, but I think you're right.
That was like the closest thing I could really think of tonally there. All right. Okay. This was exciting. Well, I'm glad that you watched these movies.
I'll recommend to you, it's much more art house. But if you like the flavor of Thai cinema, the Palme d'Or winner from a few years back, the Uncle Boonmi Who Can Recall His Past Lives.
I think I might even already have this on my watch list because I remember
it's very like capital A art, but it's like, it's one of those movies that like I watched it, and I remember I watched it with like a group of people that I think we could charitably refer to as bros, and they were all just like, "What the fuck is this shit?" And I'm like, "You guys calm down. We're watching some fucking film. I'm trying to better myself, you know." And but yeah, it's also Thai, and it's really something special. Like I would say it's the closest to like an art house Thai genre movie. Like it's similar vibes to Personal Shopper, which is undoubtedly a supernatural movie, but is an art house flick.
Yeah.
I would recommend it. I think you would enjoy it, or at least would find some value in it, especially as a companion piece to like, an early entry in watching Thai cinema.
Yeah. Okay. It's one that I've like wanted to watch for like a while. Like I remember when it came out, it was like kind of like well recommended and stuff. And so I just looked. I do have it in my watch list. It's like a thing that and now I use my watch list like constantly. Because Just Watch is attached to it, and so I can just like basically hit like
set that up.
It's like I can just go like, hey, what's available on Amazon today that I have already said like I would like to watch, and it will just filter my list for me and tell me,
I need to set it up. I'm so lazy because like I'll find things on Pluto by finding it in Just Watch and then clicking the Pluto links that I can do that. I have to do that. But actually, apparently here it says it's on Fandor. I don't have Fandor, but
I don't.
If you want to watch Uncle Boon Me. Definitely watch some Fandor.
Okay, let's
Patong Wirasitaku. Yeah.
Let's talk some Godzilla versus Kong, because I really want to talk about this movie. I'm very excited about it, and I realized that I can circle back to a point we were like sort of dancing around right in the beginning of the episode, which is I do actually want to now go back and watch the trailers, because I seem to remember at least one shot of the movie that definitely takes place inside of Hollow Earth that was in the trailers. And when you're looking at all of the shots inside Hollow Earth in the movie, it's always very apparent that it's Hollow Earth because it's got the sort of double-sided...
Yeah, it's a spherical world, yeah.
I'm very curious if that was straight up in the trailer. Like, I'm curious if they re-edited those shots for the trailer so that you didn't know that's what you were looking at.
Possibly.
Or if they just fucking put it in the trailer and were like, nobody's even going to be paying attention to the fact that this is what's on the screen,
I've seen instances of both in the past where it's like something that like they either just real quick edited like the Nacho in the Scary Movie trailers, or it's just they do it so fast and it's like context free. It's just not where your eye is going to go. Yep. And yeah, I would actually be very curious. But like knowing Wingard, who seems to be a bit of like a merry prankster, there could be any of these could be true. I mean, the release schedule of Blair Witch, which I revisited the other night, that movie, lest we forget, that movie's fucking scary as hell. Yes. Jenna left the room. Yeah. We were watching it, and she was like, I can't do this. Like, it's too much. And I was like, I'm not stopping it. I got to finish this. But I was legit freaked. Like, I had to pee in the middle of the night, and I was bugged out doing it.
Yeah.
It's that movie's, if you can tolerate found footage the way I can, that's killer. But he's like a merry prankster, because that was The Woods, and it wasn't until like 20 minutes into the first premiere of it that people were like, did they just say Burkittsville?
Right.
Like it's...
And he also does that. He does that thing with that movie where like which I know people don't like about it, but like he kind of gives you a lot more information about the Blair Witch, but like not really. You know what I mean? Like he definitely he shows you a bunch of stuff that maybe you've been dying to see, but provides you no more context for it than you already had. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he gives you more, but without actually giving you much. I love that actually. That's like that's the approach that I think he takes with the Hollow Earth stuff in this movie that I think makes it so fun. Is that like I did not expect to me the biggest wow moment of the movie is when they go, yes, we are straight up fucking going to Hollow Earth. Like we're not just going to talk about it. We're not just going to like send a probe there. We're not just going to have Dr. Serizawa get off of the boat and like just go meet Godzilla you know what I'm saying? Like it's not going to be just a 5-minute. It is going to be a 20-minute. We're going there. We're actually going to be there. Characters are going to interact with it.
Yeah, but we're going to fight bat demons in a castle cave with an iPad charger axe floor in the middle of Hollow Earth after we travel through a core warp that apparently shredded Alexander Skarsgård's brother in an in-between movie that we don't even get to see.
Exactly.
Fucking insane.
It's insane. I love that. And by the way, I love that everything you just said is the only thing you can say about it because everything else is left on the table. We see tons of insane shit throughout that sequence and know nothing about any of it. Mm-hmm. And I love that about it. I don't know why there's a big fucking door that Kong seems to know how to use. I don't know what that door is for.
Because apparently Titans are attracted to door.
Right. Like, I don't know why there's a rock field that is apparently maybe like directly in the center of the hollow earth. I don't know why there's what appears to be a sun.
Petrified Kongs.
Yeah, right. I don't know why there appears to be a sun in the hollow earth. I have ideas.
Yeah, I think your idea is right because before you answered in our group text as to what the sun is in the hollow earth, I honestly, until someone mentioned it, it didn't even occur to me to think about it.
Same here.
But as soon as someone asked, I was like, I guess we'll call it the molten core.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think when you said that, I was like, yeah, I think he's right. I think I'm on the same page there.
I think that's what that is. But that's what I like about that sequence is it gives us all of that stuff and doesn't explain it to us. It's not a movie. It's weird. It's a movie with a ton of exposition, but exposition about like the actual here and now of the movie so that we can enjoy the movie we're watching. It does not overexposit about like the world building it's doing. The world building is just like
it would be worse if it did.
Yes,
agreed, I think that was and I did not read your review yet. I read your Wingard piece, which was double thumbs up.
Thank you.
But I read your Letterboxd review and just mentioned like it is very evocative of the Millennium Era.
Yes.
Because I feel like that is a lot of that there where it's like, listen, we're going to get a little cosmic, just like that's your ticket to ride, just come in and do it. And like, I appreciate that. And I think like in revisiting the previous entry, which, isn't a terrible movie. It just doesn't quite work for me. I think because watching this when I was trying to pinpoint what that disconnect is, because the humans in this are exactly as stupid.
Yes.
They behave exactly as dumb.
Yeah.
And to criticize a Godzilla movie for the behaviors of the humans is perhaps the most off-base criticism one could do. But it really affected me in King of the Monsters, and it didn't affect me at all here. And I think it was just because the tone here was one of, whatever, it's fun.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in King of the Monsters, they sort of half tried to take pains of like, we're going to explain it, we're going to try and make the logic work. And it's like, I wish you would just not.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I brushed up against it. And so to say it's inferior or not is not my place, but like my taste difference, I think that's where it comes up there is that Godzilla versus Kong was like, we don't want to spend time on this. Just we're getting to the monsters,
Yeah. I feel like Godzilla versus Kong is one of those movies that like very much succeeds on its own terms.
Yeah.
Because I actually have a lot of criticisms of this movie, I think.
Oh, certainly.
But none of them actually matter to me. Because I think that the movie, it's very clear to me the movie just knows exactly what it's doing, what it wants to be, and is pretty much working at 100% efficiency when it comes to like all of that stuff. You know what I mean?
I would agree. And like King of the Monsters too, like there's never I'm not the guy to be like, well, those people are like, oh, that's fake. That's just not in my. This is not how I consume movies where it's like, why would they do that? Why is she running upstairs?
Right.
When she should be going out the door. It's like, because that's the thing. That's why.
Yeah.
Magic Island. Shut up.
Yeah.
But I think that King of the Monsters gets stuck between the first Godzilla movie of this cycle, which is probably my favorite of this cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just like, it's kind of murky and foggy, and it's just, this is the human toll, this is the disaster. You get one movie out of that tone.
Yeah.
And then it becomes boring.
Yeah.
But you can't just jump straight to a Godzilla versus Kong that's like, this is a party.
Yeah.
Neon lights, fisticuffs between titans, hell yeah, rock and roll.
Yeah.
And so for me, King of the Monsters gets stuck between that. It has the unfortunate circumstance of bridging that gap. And I think as much as I'm criticizing it, probably does as good of a job as one could do bridging that gap. It's just a shitty position to be in my, in my read of things.
Yeah. I actually, so for me, that movie is like my favorite of this whole series. And I still like, even being the big Wingard fan that I am, that Dougherty movie to me is still like the tops of this series. But that's only because it is like, this is one of my favorite things about Godzilla is you could, any Godzilla, I love doing this on Letterboxd actually. I go to like other Godzilla fans, like Godzilla ranking lists. I've never seen one that's even remotely similar to another one.
Yeah, that's true.
Like everybody just has like their own flavor of Godzilla, and I really like that about him as like a character. You know, he's like so malleable and like all that. But anyway, Dougherty's handling of the Titans themselves, I think, is like so much to my flavor.
The monsters are so cool in that, and they do Mothra really well.
He treats them with like a majesty that I really, really like. I don't know what it is about that, but I like that about it. But anyway, so like that to me is
agree.
like,
I definitely agree. Like, even though I don't like how all of the effects are employed in that movie,
yeah,
I do feel like I do feel the like, wow, Rodan, you know, like that's wow, he's fucking like that is there, and like that's not in Godzilla versus Kong,
right? Yeah.
When they're fighting in Tokyo, those buildings that are probably filled with people barely register as filled with people. Yes. It's like this is the playing field, you know, yes. And to its credit, but you know, so I give that credit, and also I think that like the version of Mothra in King of the Monsters is like probably my favorite version of Mothra.
Amazing.
And amidst this whole series, to credit that movie that I half panned on Letterboxd, the goodbye old friend scene.
Oh, I love it. It's amazing.
That's probably the closest that any of this modern cycle of Godzilla movies got to high art.
Yeah,
I mean, that shit is unbelievably cool.
Yeah, that sequence is art.
So, you know, but I think it just ends up being a matter of taste.
Yeah, agreed. And but so I did really love Godzilla versus Kong, though. Just, I mean, it is. So, and Wingard has talked about this. This is not like an idea I'm having, but like the movie is called Godzilla versus Kong, and he basically went out of his way to make a movie that actually stars the two people on the poster. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they are actually characters in this movie.
Without a doubt, the most emotive I have ever seen either of them.
Yep.
This side of like Jackson's Kong.
Yep.
I love that they have such expressive faces. I think that does so much.
Yep. And they interact with each other. Like, you actually like, they literally have like interactions where you are just able to read on their faces and body language, like what they are communicating to one another, you know, like they straight up become characters in this movie. And so then the fact that like, I think the humans are mostly annoying and exist only to kind of explain what the big monsters that can't talk can't is fine. Like,
it works.
He succeeded in actually making a Godzilla and Kong movie that actually stars Godzilla and Kong. So I'm very okay with the humans like functioning in that way in the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like I said before, like they're just as fucking stupid as the humans in King of the Monsters. But I feel like in King of the Monsters, because of where it exists in the larger story, we have to figure out a way for these humans to push these monsters into battle.
Right.
Whereas here, they're just a side story to this battle that is fucking fated to happen.
Yes.
And there's this one shot. I'm going to try and describe it. I mean, first off, the coolest shot in the movie is the cockpit shot of the guy taking off. Yes. And they're just smashing up But my favorite shot in the movie is when the axe lights up, and after he breathes the fire into it, and Kong like lifts it up to smash, and the light hits his face, and he actually emotes this like fuck this fucking. Are we spoiling it?
Go ahead.
Fuck Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
I'm gonna chop this bitch to pieces. And he has that face, and it's the craziest, most intense look, and he even side-eyes Godzilla with the face of like, y'all ready for this? We did this.
Yes,
like it's crazy. And like that is beyond anything that any Godzilla has done.
Yes.
Man, kudos.
Yep.
Kudos.
To me, so what I was trying to say before is the two big spoilers in the movie. No. I didn't mean it like that. I'm
having a crazy week and I'm getting my buzz on, so it's nice.
I actually didn't mean it like that because I'm piggybacking on what you were saying.
Yes.
To piggyback on what you were saying, what I was kind of like trying to say before is like the two spoilers are Mechagodzilla, but the one that I was thinking of actually that to me matters more is the Hollow Earth one.
Yeah.
I really did not expect the movie to go all the way to Hollow Earth and then be like, actually, there's a whole fantasy universe underneath this one that like we're introducing here. You know, literally,
where there's like petrified Kongs that hint to thousands and thousands of years of just Titan legacy.
And he has a throne, so he's like literally a king. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's like
because in Kong Skull Island, the one character. is like, I believe in Hollow Earth, and everyone's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, it's kind of dismissed. So to have it be confirmed and be a plot device is pretty big, bold stuff.
It's really cool. It's really fun. And I just, it kind of blew my mind. And I really think it's like it's the kind of decision that is like, and I know his name's not on the script, so maybe it's not his, but like, that feels like the Wingard decision of the movie, right? That's the weird, it turns out the guest is actually an action movie halfway through the movie kind of Wingard thing. You know what I mean? Where you're like, you know you're watching a Godzilla movie, so it's like gonna be a certain amount of weird, but like you don't know it's gonna be like that weird. You know what I mean? Until you're like there.
To go to Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
And when they introduced the HEAVs.
Yes.
The heaves or halves, or I was like, this is, but the introduction of that, and when they hop in and it starts flying, that was kind of the moment where I was just like, I know exactly what this movie is going to provide to me, and I know exactly what I need about it, and it was congruent. You know, like that was the thing. And also, side note, I can't find a good copy of The Guest on Blu-ray.
Oh, really?
It like doesn't exist for less than $35 anymore. Like you got to get an import, which my player doesn't play. Oh. It's I was hunting for one.
So glad I bought it. I
might spend $40 on it because I have like everything else. Yeah,
I'm glad I bought it when I did. That doesn't surprise me actually, because the blue that I have, which is like probably the standard blue that came out whenever it came out, is like a no-name company. Like the distributor is like some company I've never really heard of.
You can get like the solid American 2-disc release, like Blu-ray DVD kind of thing, and it's like $35 used on eBay. Yeah, and I might pull the trigger on it because, like, you know, I mean, that movie always seems to be streaming everywhere, but you know, who wants to rely on that if it's one of my more favorite filmmakers? But yeah, and so I'm also like crossing my fingers that one day, like Shout Factory will just drop a steelbook or something, and then I'll buy 4.
I mean. I think with this guy's career like on the rise, you can kind of bet that some of that older stuff is finally going to get like some more serious releases.
Oh yeah, because he's now like a mainstream genre guy. Like he bridged that, especially because between the success of this film and the success of the dual theater and streaming release, like his name is connected to a really monumental thing. Like it's a really successful movie generally.
I know.
And it was the testing ground for this sort of release in a almost post-COVID world.
Right.
And so it's like it's just he's in a great place, and I just don't think I could be happier for this guy because he's just he gets it, man. He's a great, and you know what? To his credit, one of the coolest things about this movie is that the battle scenes are kinetic. It alternates between tight shots and wide shots. But there are times, like there's this one shot where Kong catches an uppercut and then he flips end over end and the camera goes with him. But it's not dizzying. It's not confusing. And it's the kind of thing that goes, wow, they didn't just make this and build a movie around it. They directed this. Like this is a directed idea. And there's so much of that. And that to me is like, that's why you get a Wingard and throw some money at him, is because he's going to make that money look good and he's going to turn it into something artsy to a degree.
And I've been like talking to people about this movie, people that don't know who Adam Wingard is, people that I don't think are even really Godzilla or Kong fans beyond just having seen a couple of these movies in the last couple of years, you know, like just movie fans. And people are loving this. I feel like everybody I talk to seems to really enjoy this. And specifically, and I don't feel like I even hear people talk about this much outside of our like movie friend circles. People have specifically been like, I really loved the way it looked. Like people are into awesome. Like what he, I think, is like doing aesthetically, you know?
I mean, putting it in Hong Kong to have that neon thing. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the end of The Guest, that movie is a Pop-Tart movie, as you call it. And like, that's a smart decision because it bucks the trend of everything happening at night and in the rain. But you still get a cool nighttime thing that you can hide the particle physics. But like that one thing that you put as the title image of your Wingard thing of Godzilla looking up and, you know, the Shawshank shot.
There's like pink on one side, green on the other. He's blue.
That feels so Wingard to me.
Yeah.
And that is such a smart decision because it feels on brand because we do associate Godzilla with East Asian civic structures.
Sure.
I actually had to tell my editor because I accidentally called it Tokyo just as a knee-jerk thing. And I was like, listen, man, I fucked that up. It's Hong Kong. Yeah. I just immediately think Tokyo of Godzilla kicking down Tokyo.
Yeah.
But like that's so smart to be able to apply this sort of collective cultural image into something that serves just the aesthetic blocking of it all. Yeah. And it's just, man, like, you don't get that when you see the previs effects in like a Jurassic World,
right?
You know, it's it looks so cool, and even like the hardest fights, and I say hardest to see with some air quotes here, when they're fighting underwater, in the aircraft carrier scene, even that, like, it gets a little murky, but I could tell what was going, like when his tail grabs the anchor of the ship and pulls half of it down. So many filmmakers would make that cacophonous and just all over the place, and it's clean, and I'm following it, and man, I wish I wasn't going to be stuck at work next week because I need to buy a ticket to see this on the big screen ASAP.
I'm so excited,
and I owe it to Adam Wingard to pay that money. I think
I can't wait to see it big and loud, because actually the only thing that was a struggle for me at home was the score. And that is just my TV. You know, my TV is not pumping that out really at the right volume, basically. You know,
and there was so many. He did needle drops well as well. He does weird needle drops that aren't songs you recognize but fit. Like You're Next has the Dwight Twilley band, Looking for Some Magic. Yeah. Whoa. And I love that song, and I only know about it because of that movie. Yep. And there's so many needle drops in this that you listen to the lyrics, they're resonant. Yep. The tone of it fits, but it's also clear that it's just some nerd who's just like, I know some deep cuts that we can punctuate into a Godzilla slap fight. It's fucking crazy.
I know. I really think was a great choice for this. Honestly, like, the thing that works the least for me in the movie is its humor. And that was like a little bit of a disappointment for me, except that it then still does the Wingard thing of, like, in the last half hour, it suddenly has like 5 really great punchlines that only work because they've been really well threaded throughout the movie, you know?
Death Note did that a lot too.
Yeah.
To the point where, like, when Air Supply kicks in and the Notebook's falling out of the Ferris wheel, and you're like, and like when they explain that after the fact, and you're like, oh man, shit, like Lakeith, he's funny.
Yes.
I actually was very surprised at how Julian Dennison, the little boy from Wilder People, him and Brian Tyree Henry ended up having like a pretty funny rapport for 2 characters that were ultimately like disposable.
Yes.
They were really a lot of fun together in a way that, and this is going to be the weirdest comparison, but go with me. I think that Stallone and Rob Schneider make an uncommonly great comedic duo in Judge Dredd. And I got like very similar vibes where I was like, I would never have placed either of these people to be a comedic duo, and they're real funny together. Like, you know, it's not high art. There's no great comedy there, but their energy is really good. And I was very surprised by that, despite both of them having comedy chops. I mean, Tyree Henry is the original General Butt Fucking Naked from the Book of Mormon.
Right.
And, you know, and so it's like, and Julian Dennison is we first heard of him in a comedy.
Yeah. And you know, Deadpool 2, like he definitely has kind of continued a little like comedic streak. I found, to me, like maybe the first half of the movie, I felt like every time it was trying to be funny, it was kind of like tripping over itself. I would agree. You know, it like felt like it was trying to be funny. It wasn't just funny, you know?
It was trying,
Yeah. But I was then impressed with things like the coward joke that kind of resurfaces by the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
How well that actually, like, fits in as a punchline right there at the end, you know? There were a couple of things, and that feels like just, again, like, his name's not on it, so I don't know. But there were a couple things that, just in that last half hour, there were a couple of jokes, kind of punchlines that, like, felt very well threaded throughout the movie. And I was like, that feels like the Wingard thing to me, of, like, kind of having a subtle sense of humor that you don't even realize is funny until you get to like the end of the movie, you know?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think Alexander Skarsgård is like low-key a funnier actor when he wants to be.
Yeah.
I was surprised. And I love Rebecca Hall. I think she's awesome.
Yeah.
But I was glad that she got the tone of the movie because she's like classy as shit. And like, you know, she fit in here.
Yes.
The little girl.
She was great, actually. All the Kong stuff. worked a lot for me. I
loved that little girl, and that was something that I think would be considered a spoiler, is Kong speaking sign language.
Yeah, actually, that's true. Yes.
That was I thought that was kind of nice. I liked that little girl. I liked the idea that, granted they killed her entire culture off screen in a storm, but that feels on brand. And so I liked that idea that it's like, like Kong needs home in order to function, and she represents that and represents that there is this connection. Yeah, all that stuff worked well, and it's like you get this super classy actress in Rebecca Hall, and it's like, she's not given much by way of like script heft, but she's a very believable Kong scientist.
Totally. And I like the idea of like, part of the classic Kong story is like Kong and his women,
Yes.
And I like the read on that in this movie, that it's like a Jane Goodall type relationship as opposed to Kong is just really fucking horny for blondes,
Yeah.
Like
gentle Kong prefer blondes.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Actually, and I'll throw this out there. There's this really fantastic documentary simply titled Jane that I caught at the film festival a few years back. Highly recommend.
All right,
real good
cool
stuff. Yeah.
But I thought the Kong stuff in general was like the best stuff in the movie. I frankly, as a Godzilla fan, the only thing I was I wanted to be mad but couldn't be by the end because it was so good, that it was not a Godzilla movie. Like, this is very much this is a Kong movie, in my opinion. Like,
it was the thing that happened with Batman versus Superman, where I was like, will I get a Man of Steel too? It's like, nah, I'll get another Batman movie, but with a side of Man of Steel.
Yes,
this felt like that, where it's like, this is a sequel to Kong Skull Island. I guess because of that human connection.
Right.
And then, but at the same time, I think in the world as created here, it's accepted that Godzilla is a force of nature that's going to do what he's going to do.
Yes.
And we just have to understand him after the fact. And, we learned that he's got issues with Mechagodzilla. Also, Damian Bashir, one of like the great modern character actors. I like him so much.
I wanted to call him out too. I feel like him and Rebecca Hall are the two actors in this movie that I really liked their performances a lot.
Yeah.
Like, they just knew what they were doing. They were fully in it. Like, he was like funny in this movie, Damian Bashir.
Yeah.
He was great.
What I will say, here's a criticism I have. This was one of the issues that I've had with this entire series, is that certain characters are related. Unless you're paying attention, you don't notice.
Yeah.
Like the character that's played by, and I'm going to forget the actor's name. I'm just going to call him Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton. In Kong Skull Island is Joe Morton's character in King of the Monsters. That's just him all grown up. Yep. And like the twin thing that they pulled in King of the Monsters. Yeah. But then also the guy who controls Mechagodzilla is just Ken Watanabe's son.
Yes,
and I only know that connection because I noticed when I was looking at IMDb later, the same last name. Yep. And like, I wish that it was a little more forward with those things, because I think those are fun connections.
Yeah, dude, you just blew my mind with the Joe Morton thing. That's amazing.
Right?
I didn't know that.
The only reason I know that is because of the Matt Singer review of King of the Monsters. He points that out.
I've seen all three of these movies 3 times, and I didn't know that.
They don't make and I also wonder what's lost too, because like Lance Reddick is in this movie.
Yes,
who does he play? He plays a guy who stands near the stars for a minute, and it's like, really, you're gonna throw like one of the all-time character actor greats over to the side, or the kid from I think he's the guy from Midsommar and The Good Place. He shows up, and he's black guy, thick glasses. And I was like, oh, that's an actor I should recognize. And then he was just there to like, and so it's weird. Like and this series like continual, like I made the joke about Bradley Whitford's character in the last one. Yeah. He exists just to be like, Godzilla, huh? Reminds me of my ex-wife. Like, that's all he does. And it's like, there's so many actors like that I just wonder what their connections are. And I'm very curious as to if this is a cutting room floor thing, or if maybe we're just supposed to figure out after the fact. But all of these movies I give that criticism to, of like, you should put that stuff forward because it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's just not always apparent.
I agree with that, actually. That's like a pretty good criticism of these. You made me think of something that I wanted to talk about. Well, one was, you just made me think about, because you mentioned Serizawa's kid. The fucking Ghidorah, the Ghidorah head skull, that's also the helmet, that's also driving the... And then I think what they imply is that literally the ghost of Ghidorah has taken over Mechagodzilla in order to have his vengeance on Godzilla. Fucking incredible.
Love it.
incredible.
Now, maybe you can highlight this. If I remember correctly, the eco-terrorists from the previous movie are the ones that obtained that skull.
Yes.
Are we to assume that they were working for Damien Bashir this whole time, or is there some in-between exchange of money or favors or whatever? The other thing is also, I want to make it very clear that I'm interested.
Yes.
But I don't care.
I know.
It's that kind of thing.
Dude, my big shrug was not to be like, why do you care about this? It was literally because I have literally been thinking about the exact same thing, and I wish I had a better answer for you, but I don't. I also don't give a shit either. I'm like in exactly the same page as you on this.
All I know is that colored tubes were plugged into that skull, and it was
so
fucking
awesome.
metal. That's
so
another
awesome.
thing. Very Wingard. The tech in this looked like something out of like Upgrade, where it's like that weird, like where it doesn't. Because that's another thing. Like I feel like in bridging the gap between the real life tech of Godzilla and the complete fantasy Spencer's Gifts looking tech of this one, poor King of the Monsters gets stuck trying to bridge that gap, and it feels weird to me. Yeah. And it's like and this is once again very Millennium era. Is just how does that computer work? It's like, no, it doesn't matter that it works. It matters that the beeps and boops sound great and it lights up.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
that's
the Millennium era is literally full of vehicles like the Heaves. When they literally gave a what do they call it? An abbreviation for that vehicle, I like almost screamed because that is a Godzilla thing. Especially through the Heisei Millennium era, are these fucking like jets and tanks that they have, and they give them all weird acronyms that they never stop talking about. They repeat them over and over again through the whole movie. 50% of those Millennium era Godzilla movies are about the vehicles and not about Godzilla. It's really weird, but I liked that he was like, that's what I'm doing. Like I'm doing that kind of Godzilla. I'm putting my characters.
What do you not want to heave?
I'm putting my characters in matching black jumpsuits and putting them in a vehicle with a fucking acronym for a name. Like that's what I'm doing. You know?
Yo, what about? I screamed with glee when the one heave was escaping and King Kong's just like and just explodes that lady. I was like,
so great.
I guess she's dead.
So great, especially because she.
So cool.
Did a great job of being the absolute hateable, slimy version of that character that she was playing, you know?
Yeah, like the evil corporatist who's also just like got a great rack and looking hot. That's her.
I mean
but that's her job and like it's part of the brand.
The comparison I'm about to make is not quite apt with that, but I think you'll agree. Is like she's also like the Don Jr. Like she's the child of the megalomaniac that is somehow more of a megalomaniac because she's the child of that megalomaniac and needs to serve them.
That's what I mean when I comment on her looks. That's almost by design. It's like part of the sales pitch of her showing up and being like, "You want to get in the heave?" Is
I'm part of the offer.
I am money. Like this is me. That was unbelievable when that happened. I must have, and that's one thing where I was very glad to be watching it at home because I think I ran that explosion back like 10 times because the first time it was shocking, and by the 10th time it was just like the hilarious abandon of just cruel ultra violence that was created just so I could be like,
I know. Oh, and that's also Wingard takes full advantage of the fact that he's dealing with like big animated monsters, and then that one of them is actually made of metal, so he doesn't even have to like consider like whether it looks quote unquote gruesome. So he just has him like fucking shred his arms off of his body and stuff.
So cool.
Yeah, it was great.
He gave him the whole the Black Knight from Monty Python sequence. Yeah. And you know what? Reading that thing beforehand where he said that he was basing a lot of movements of Kong on like someone like John McClane. Yeah. I was trying to track that during the movie. Totally tracks.
Yeah.
The way that Kong is just like, fuck, man. I'm not even supposed to be here today. Like that was very much in there.
There's the shot. It's all over the trailers where he's jumping off a boat with his arms in the air as the atomic breath goes up behind him. That is like frame for frame McClane jumping off the roof of Nakatomi as it explodes behind him. There's the thing where he pops his shoulder back into place.
Lethal weapon,
right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that was one of Riggs's tricks, is that he could pop his shoulder out to get out of a straitjacket, which is also great because it just suggested that Riggs and likely the man who played him have spent some time in a mental institution.
Yes. So I really liked that some of those things were like very specific like that, but also like, you got to be a fan of those movies to recognize that that's like specifically what he's doing.
Yeah, but it's not a scary movie where it's a direct tag, but it's like he's capturing that energy.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is he's capturing that energy, which I think is what makes, like, I'm a huge Godzilla fan, that I like Kong. I actually have liked a few King Kong movies more than I expected to, but I actually don't even really think about them in the same class of character or movie, even though I know they're not that dissimilar. In my brain, somehow these are very like kind of different properties. And
they were very different at their source.
Yeah, for sure.
It was only after the fact that we decided to connect them, where it was like, they're both big animals.
Right.
We connect? Like, that was all there was.
But I came out of this movie loving Kong. Like, I was like almost reluctantly like, I like that this is a Kong movie. I like Kong as a character so much now. And it's all because of those choices he's making. He uses that 80s action movie stuff to evoke a kind of character that Kong is, and that makes us like Kong,
Yeah. And honestly, what does the 80s action hero like more than anything? The ladies. Back to like what you think. That's a fun thing to tap into.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember I saw that King Kong on Broadway.
Yes, yeah.
And like the play itself was pretty stupid, like it was definitely just a shell within which to contain the puppet of Kong.
Yes.
But that puppet was, I mean, it was huge. And even if you ignore the fact, like the technical wizardry that brought that to life, I can still close my eyes and picture points where it stood up, and you could hear everyone in the crowd just be like, like involuntarily, just because of the size of the thing. Yeah. And so, to me, when I watch any sort of kaiju movie, if you can capture even a single moment of like, ooh, where like you recognize the size of the beasts in comparison to the humans.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that every single entry in this Monsterverse has done multiple times. Mm-hmm. Even in the less successful entries to me, there's been a point where I was just like, that is fucking big. And I think that is so key.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie felt huge. Actually, that was another compliment I want to pay to it. It's just like, I'm very much looking forward to seeing this on a movie screen, which is very exciting to me. I'm glad that it's the kind of movie that I want to see that way. But I enjoyed the shit out of it on my TV. Like, it actually played very well on my TV at home. I know that's like kind of the opposite of what movie nerds kind of like want to compliment movies on, but I was impressed that it worked as well as it did on my TV.
I think so many big blockbusters that I watch in the theater, I go, that was good. And then I watch it at home, like on an iPad. And like every superhero movie I watch on my iPad, and I go, this was better on the smaller screen. And I think that here is going to be the first big blockbuster like that in a while, where it actually is going to work equally both ways. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was the final line of my review. I just said, like, if you feel safe going back, and now is the time where it's starting to become safe to go back to the movies, I mean, we are crazy lucky that this is the movie to see.
Yes.
But if you watch it at home, it's still going to kick your ass. Like, I think it's just sound filmmaking. It's very sound filmmaking that doesn't take pains to hide any of the visual work being done. And I think that's why it'll translate to any size.
Yeah.
But I absolutely need to see this.
I can't wait.
Writ large.
I can't wait. Well, I'm glad that we got to talk about that. I want to make sure we take a minute to talk about our packages.
Oh, yeah. Talk about our dicks.
Which was a weird way to say that. But I wanted to make sure I moved us along. I don't think Adam Wingard's listening to us, but if he is, I loved your new movie, Adam. It was fun. It was really great.
Yeah. I love all your movies, man. I hope you get to keep making them.
I know.
And I also would love it if, amidst all of your blockbuster success, sir, you and Mr. Barrett could team up and make another small-scale horror movie, just like so I could put it in my pocket and take it with me.
I've been reading a lot of interviews with him recently, and as much as he's talking about all these big things that he's very excited to do, including Thundercats and stuff like that, he did say,
so crazy.
I know, he did say that he very much expects, anticipates, and wants to use this success in both the arena of more big shit and more little shit. Like, he does want to go back and make some smaller things. And
he's got the energy
specifically, so
I'm into it. Because that was the big talk, like when Peter Jackson finished The Lord of the Rings, he was like, I think I want to do like another zombie movie, like something small. Right. And then he never really made good on that promise. Yeah. And it's a shame. I really would hope that he would. Yeah. Honestly, if they could make a Frighteners 2, I would watch the shit out of that.
Yes.
That's a movie that you could sequelize endlessly. And if you want to bring back Jeffrey Combs, I'm totally into it. It's probably unlikely you'll get Michael J. Fox, but I mean, I would be open to it because he's the best. Also, he did a WTF interview recently, which I highly recommend. It's very inspiring.
I didn't know that. I would like to hear that.
It's delightful. He's a very interesting dude.
Yeah. Dude, Combs is incredible in The Frighteners. He's like
so funny and unhinged and weird. It's great.
He's legit incredible in that movie. Yeah.
He makes good on the promise of the physical performance that we see in the Reanimator series that we talked about on the show. In that, like, it's another one that affords him an opportunity to be twitchy and fucking off. It's so that movie is so good.
I like that movie. I liked it. All right, let's talk about Kino Lorber had a big sale. I think it might even still be in its like final days or something.
Wasn't it like a March Madness?
It was March Madness. It's probably over now. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this before we get into Kino Lorber. I did order. I did a Shout Factory order recently, and they ship separately. So I'm still waiting for my Get It Over free shipping picks of Wild at Heart and Body Bags.
Ooh.
They're still going to arrive, but the only reason that I did those was so that I could get this bad boy, which has seriously stacked special features as well.
Oh, really?
But, cool. Yeah, it's got commentary from the director, and like a film critic does that. There's like the Australian premiere introduction with the Monster Fest director and the director Julia Ducournau. I don't know, the deleted scenes, panel discussion on women genre filmmakers. There's just tons of different things that are worth watching, but I want to watch that commentary. So I'm waiting for Wild at Heart and Body Bags as well.
Hell yeah. Great movies.
Yeah.
Well, so I'll just show you mine first because you're going to unbox yours, which I think is exciting and fun.
Oh, I mean, it's opened.
Yeah. Mine's already unboxed, so I'll just show you my little stack here. Now, this is like some movies between Tori and myself, so a couple.
And also, shout out to Kino Lorber because mine got lost in the mail, and they were extremely happy and enthused to just resend it. No stress through me. They were like, yeah, man, and if you end up getting the other one back, we'll send you a return label. So if I do get the other one, yeah.
The first thing I want to show you is my favorite thing about Kino Lorber movies, which is that they have a uniform spine and they look beautiful next to each other.
Yeah, holy shit.
I love it. So, okay. I got The Night Strangler, which is the sequel to The Night Stalker. It's one of the Kolchak movies.
Oh, I got to get that.
Yeah, so I
haven't seen that one.
I have not either. I love The Night Stalker. Like, really love that movie. So I got this.
Which was the first Night Stalker was a movie that ended up being a pilot for the show.
Right.
I only just recently caught that movie because I liked that show as a kid because it was always on Channel 48 WGTW after school.
Right. I have never seen the show. I would like to. And this
it's Monster of the Week.
Yeah. This is, I guess, I don't know if it's like, I actually don't know much about this. Like, I don't know if this is post the TV show, mid the TV show. I'm not really sure.
I didn't even know it existed. I am going to have to hunt that. I'm probably just going to have to spend money and buy it.
You can borrow it from me at some point if you want. This is a thing you have very much recommended to me many times, and Tori was very interested in it. So we went and we got it. We got the Trilogy of Terror.
Oh, so did I.
With Ms. Karen Black, yes.
Yep, that's in my stack.
By the way, I'm only noticing this now because I'm looking at them right next to each other, both directed by Dan Curtis.
Oh, no way. Did you get the sleeve?
I didn't get the sleeve on mine.
It's the same picture, so it really is so different.
I don't really care. I'm fine with the sleeve.
The sleeve's a waste. It makes it too thick for the shelf anyway.
This we got because this is a John Saxon movie called Cannibal Apocalypse.
I've not seen that.
Never seen it, never even heard of it. It's just called Cannibal Apocalypse, and it stars John Saxon.
That's three of my favorite things.
Exactly. Tori and I just covered him on Killer Bees podcast, so we bought it because we really want to see it.
Nice.
So that's going to be fun. This we bought for the same reason, but we've seen this one. This is Nightmare Beach.
Oh, I haven't seen that either.
John Saxon.
That's a great cover.
Oh, yeah. This movie rocks, dude. You should borrow this from me sometime.
I like Michael Parks quite a bit.
Michael Parks is great in this movie. So is John Saxon. It is basically like I guess I would say like, it's like a slasher movie that's kind of a giallo movie. I know those are kind of the same thing anyway, but it feels like the movie that actually like bridges the gap between the two genres. Because it's like an American movie that feels like it's an Italian production, kind of. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And it literally is like 50% they just actually shot footage of spring break happening, and then 50% made a movie about something that was happening during spring break.
Like Spring Breakers.
Yes, it's very entertaining. Lost Highway, one of the only Lynches I've not seen, so now we're going to get to see it. So
that's also in my stack.
Yep.
Lost Highway, the classic story of a man who goes to jail and then becomes another person overnight. That's the plot. That's the main basic plot, and it has Henry Rollins in it.
This is one of the only Lynches I've yet to see, and I'm like very excited to watch it. And I just figured
it's one of my more favorites, and it's weirdly one of his more accessible ones.
At this point, I'm so in the bag for Lynch. I was like, I mean, you just blind buy that movie, you know?
Yeah.
So this is a blind buy for us, bought solely on the lead. It's called 5 Miles to Midnight, and it stars Anthony Perkins and Sophia Loren. And so those two names were enough for Tori and I to be like, yeah, we want to see that movie.
That's a great cover, too.
We've become huge Anthony Perkins fans. Like, when you and I fell in love with the Psycho franchise,
he's the best.
I started showing those to Tori, and she is now not only like, as she totally gets what we love about those movies, but she also is just like really loves Perkins. Like
my last
that's her, like,
Shout Factory grab has Psycho 2 in it. That was one of the ones that I got. I actually just put in, because that Grindhouse thing put up those sales.
Yes.
That went into our thing the other day, and I blind bought Crimes of Passion.
Oh yeah, actually, Tori I think bought that as well.
Nice, yeah, I got that, and I got Hellraiser 1 and 2 because they're just
same reason. And then my last one, and this is, I guess, Kino is who puts this imprint out as well. It's the only one that doesn't have the black spine because it's a code red. I got Street Law. Have you seen Street Law?
I have not. This one I actually bought just because you had mentioned it, and I love me some what's his name, Nero now after The Mercenary and other things. And I had to go with Street Law.
I think you're gonna love this movie. I bought it because I watched it literally like a week before the sale happened. I was telling our mutual friend Dan Santelli that I really liked Franco Nero in The Mercenary, and I was like, "Can you recommend me other Franco Nero movies?" And he was like, "You should see this movie, Street Law. It's like one of his like sleazier movies, but he's like great in it. It's like a good performance." And boy, was he right on both counts. Very sleazy, very good, very fun.
I might pull that in this weekend.
Kind of like Death Wish, without having to sit through like the actual gruesome parts of Death Wish, if that makes sense.
I'm into that. Yeah.
It's like a similar, like, the world around me is going crazy and I'm the only one that can stand up against it. But like, you don't have to watch his entire family get raped and murdered for that to happen. You know what I mean? Like
5 times over.
Because
there's 5 of those fucking movies.
Yeah. So it's like it's for me, it's like kind of a perfect movie. You know what I mean? It's like so I really enjoyed it. It's really fun.
I'm sold. I'm into it. I remember I went through all the Death Wish movies before the Eli Roth remake.
Yeah.
Which is better than you'd think.
I would probably enjoy it. I'm going to see that at some point.
It's one of those where, like, I can understand why people would take issue with the why and how of it, but when you watch it, it just becomes very clear that consummate film nerd Eli Roth fell into a job and was like, "Oh, I love that movie, yay!" and just went that way with it. Man, those Death Wish movies, by the time you get to the 5th one, which I believe is a canon film, you're just I think you're the problem, man. I think because everyone you date or have sex with gets raped and murdered afterwards, and you have to go on a vengeance with increasingly large... I'm starting to think that you're like the Taylor Swift of this situation. I think that maybe, so it goes. All right,
what else
so
you
we'll
got
go through mine here. So, yeah, Trilogy of Terror, got that.
I'm looking forward to that so much, man. You've been recommending this to me for years.
Well, I love a horror anthology, and that one's centered around all Karen Black stories.
That's really cool.
And we stand for Karen Black in this life.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's not like it's particularly great, but it's just a blast. I haven't seen Trilogy of Terror 2.
My friend.
I figured it was something to do, but I mean, same director and everything, so we had to do that.
That little creature on the cover was enough to almost sell me on a blind buy of that.
Well, that little creature is the returning character.
Oh, okay, cool.
That little creature's in the first one. He's like the icon of that. So I got Street Law as we covered.
Yeah.
Cool. Also got Lost Highway as we covered.
Yeah.
Love Lost Highway. I think the only Lynch I haven't seen at this point is Elephant Man and Straight Story.
Okay. Straight Story's good. I've not seen Elephant Man either. That's both of our.
Elephant Man, famously produced by Mel Brooks.
Yes, I know. So weird.
What did you say? Jenna says it's so good.
Oh yeah.
So I am definitely into watching. I got to watch both of those. You got to watch Inland Empire.
Yes, I do.
It's fucking weird, but it also has what I think is probably one of the funnier moments in any Lynch.
Okay.
I'll just call it the director talking to the off-screen lighting assistant.
Okay.
Which is voiced by Lynch, and it's the director is why can't I think of his name? He was Alfred in the Zack Snyder Batman.
God damn it! He plays twins in Cronenberg's movie that I like so much.
Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, Jeremy Irons.
Scar. Jeremy Irons is barking orders to a lighting assistant who doesn't seem to understand what's happening, and it's David Lynch, so he's just talking like this back to him, and it's very funny. But I blind bought this because friend of the show Bennett Jones, when he guested on Hot Property to help us with impressions, was like, you gotta watch Bitter Moon. It's like an early 90s Polanski. He's like, it's really, really good. And I think it's actually currently streaming, but since this sale was so good and this is like $5, I just went for it. So Bitter Moon.
That's interesting.
I went with one of our favorites from Exhumed, Love Me Deadly, the touching story of a girl that just desperately wants to fuck a dead body without hurting anyone.
Dude,
because it makes her horny.
I own this Blu-ray already. It was the last time there was a Kino Lorber sale, I bought that title for the same reason that you did, which was that is a movie that I probably never would have wanted to watch if you described it to me, but because I was at an Exhumed event, I saw it and was like, this is the best movie about necrophilia I will never be able to recommend to anyone.
Probably ever made. It's like delightful.
Yes.
It's weird because it's an older movie, and older movies tend to, I guess the strong word would be kink shame.
Right.
And this is a movie that steadfastly refuses not to kink shame one kink that probably should be shamed.
Right.
And does it in a touching way. But this is at every X Fest. Midway through the day, there's always the one trashy movie that everyone goes, yeah, but this one's actually like kind of like a good movie, right?
Yeah.
This was like the best example of that.
It's a movie you could never recommend to anybody because of its subject matter, because you just spend the whole time being like, I don't want to have to defend this, but I'm gonna have to get you to watch this movie. But like, it's actually good.
I couldn't recommend it to anybody, but I'd show it to most people.
Yes, it's really good. I like that movie.
Back in the day, in the early 90s, when we thought every psychiatrist was Hannibal Lecter, and so we got all of these weird movies like Basic Instinct and Fatal Attraction and all of that, one of the most bizarre entries is the one that features Bruce Willis's penis. At a time where he was showing his cheeks in every fucking movie, he decided, I'm going to pull out the cock and balls. And Color of Night, which does have a really funny How Did This Get Made devoted to it. I think Amy Schumer's the guest. They have a lot of fun with that. I saw this forever ago, and it's like one of those like post, the Crying Game thrillers where it's like, actually, I'm going to quote Jenna here. These are those movies that are, you know what's sexy? Sex. It's that level of just like trash. But this one's weird, and it's like the psychologists are like practically magicians in that, like, oh, I can psychoanalyze you and make you do things against your will. And it's like back before we realized therapy was helpful, we came up with thrillers like this. So it's been a while. This movie is fucking stupid garbage, and it's the best. And I can't wait to rewatch it as an adult, because I think I was like 14 when I saw this.
You're going to need to let me borrow that at some point, because I almost blind bought it on this sale. So I do want to see it.
It's something, man. And it's like 2.5 hours long, too. It's
whoa.
It's a lot, but wild. That's what's so good about it, is that it's just horribly indulgent. And indulgent for all the wrong reasons, but you just stare at it as the train crashes. So I got that. And I got one more. This was a complete blind buy. I know nothing about it except that it's written by Truman Capote, who wrote one of my favorite true crime novels, In Cold Blood. The Glass House. It's a prison movie.
Don't know anything about this.
But it stars Alan Alda, Vic Morrow, Clu Gulager, Billy D. Williams. The most brutal prison story ever filmed. It's story by Truman Capote and Wyatt Cooper. Screenplay by Tracy Keenan Wynn. That sounds so I know nothing about it, but at $5.
Great pedigree.
We were trying to get above that free shipping
buddy.
Thing. I was like, you know what, this is cool. And you know, yeah, to the murderers, rapists, and psychopaths, he was judge, jury, and executioner. They don't say who, but he. And so, I went for the Glass House. And
I assume
I've heard about this.
I assume they mean Truman Capote. It's the only name on the cover.
Right. No, I mean, it could be Alan Alda.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Or Vic Morrow, Klug. I never know how to say his last name, but
Gulager.
Return of the Living Dead, Klug Gulager fame. Billy D. Williams, I bet it's him because he's the coolest.
He is the coolest.
And then Dean Jagger, who I don't know who that is, but if he's not related to Mick, I don't want to know. Oops, I just dropped my whole stack. And so that is my Kino Lorber stack. So shout out to Kino Lorber for just sending it a second time when it got lost in the mail.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Let's wrap this thing up.
Let's wrap it up, man. That was good. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. We're both on moviejawn.com these days. It's JAWN. I had a bunch of Godzilla content come out this week. It's like they hired me for a very specific reason. I should have some... I think I'm going to have a new Big Ideas, Small Budgets coming pretty soon.
Nice.
Not sure on what yet, but that should be coming out pretty soon. And you can find me everywhere at Philadelphia. It's with an F.
And also Killer Bees.
Oh, yeah, Killer Bees. Check out my other podcast,
Killer Bees. D. Wallace.
D. Wallace, baby.
Forever,
I had never seen Cujo before, and she is fucking incredible in Cujo.
I've got to rewatch Cujo. That was the first Stephen King book I've ever read.
Yeah.
That's a great fucked up movie.
Dude, so we don't have to get too into it because we're trying to wrap the show up. I think that movie's kind of boring and sleepy, but she is so fucking good in it and gives such a riveting performance as like a mother in a desperate situation.
Oh yeah.
And the movie does get like pretty fucked up. Like it's not that it's fully boring.
Puppet and costume work on the dog.
Yes. It's like
and the little boy from Who's the Boss.
I know. It's just like it's kind of like the same incident over and over and over again for like an hour, you know?
Yeah.
But she is tremendous in it. It's like a movie that I wasn't crazy about, but she just fucking like it might be the performance of her career of what I've seen. You know, like she just is so fucking
lest
good.
We forget once again the Frighteners. I think
she's great in that.
So exceptional.
She's
in
great.
The Frighteners.
Actually, she's great in that specifically because of how they use her in that.
Yeah.
Because like you spend a lot of the movie being like, man, they're just like wasting D. Wallace. They've got D. Wallace in this cast, and they're just wasting her.
And then she goes off the chain.
No, they're not. You know, like they're just. They hired her. They did hire her for a reason, you know. Like,
yeah, she does Unhinged pretty well.
Yeah,
she also does great. Mom well. I mean, she's E.T.
Oh, and, she is. I mean, we talk about that. Is she from the pretty much the moment she started being in movies, she was a mom. The Hills Have Eyes is one of her first roles.
I forgot that she was in that. Yes,
she's a new mom in that movie. She's like a teenager, but she's like a new mom in that movie. Like that's like
I gotta
the whole thing.
Revisit that. I have that sitting somewhere around here. Oh, right on.
So she was like a mom her whole fucking career. Which is kind of interesting. Anyway, yes, D. Wallace. That's our latest episode. It's pretty fun.
Nice. So you can check out my other show, Hot Property, Scoofy Shit, MovieJohn.com, Findy.com. I just put up a review on MovieJohn of Train to Busan presents Peninsula.
That's so funny.
Peninsula presents. Pranglesons.
Yeah.
Pranglesons. And I dropped a Nobody review on Findy. Check that stuff out. I've eventually got a true crime thing coming out. I just want to do it right. I feel weird writing about actual dead people, and I just want to do it right. I want to do it, pretty victim forward there.
Yes. Yeah.
But I also am really excited because I'm doing the I think it's 20 years now anniversary of Freddy Got Fingered. And I'm so excited to write about that shit.
Amazing.
So, definitely log on to MovieJohn.com, Findy.com. And, so we're part of the Movie John Podcast Network. You can check out a lot of cool stuff there.